Disclaimer, the contents of this podcast spoil respective storylines of Watchmen, X-Men, and The Question, as well as films such as Watchmen and, of course, Logan. Also, we say the F word a lot. Hello, friends and family, some neighbors, some enemies. Welcome to the Flying Feathers podcast, episode, 3? Episode 2, 3? We're on 3 now. My name is Nathan D. Gonder. Joining me are my beautiful friends, Chase. Say hello, Chase.
Hello, Chase.
Yeah, Chase is hi, I'm here. And Donovan.
Hello?
Hello, how are you pals doing this week? Donovan, we missed you last week. We thought you were dead!
I wish... Oh my god.
You
know what? You want to come at me with that shit? Don't you dare come at me with that whole dead shit. Sometimes, I just wish I was dead sometimes. You understand?
Okay,
Things happen.
So, Donovan learned how to do a fun thing with his mic.
Yeah, so we're going to be hearing it all throughout this podcast.
All of the listeners are now subject to his whim.
Yeah, you're going to have to re-edit the intro to, to tell him about ear rape.
On the off chance that Donovan decides that he's funny, all of the podcast listeners are going to be fucked.
Well, why don't you eat my shit? How about that?
Not gonna do that. All right, guys, you read or watch anything interesting this week? Any comic book or just movie properties in general?
I rewatched Endgame recently.
Oh, Endgame.
That's about it?
Don't get Chase started on
Oh,
it.
God.
Get Chase started
Oh
on
my
Endgame,
God.
guys.
Guys, god damn. Why don't you guys just calm down, alright?
All right, calm it down. I'm calming down. I'm fine.
Let me enjoy things. How about that, huh?
All right. Let's let Donovan have fun. All right, Donovan, what'd you watch in your pussy movie? Oh, I'm sorry. Fuck.
I just really enjoy when, a lot of buildup happens and then there's finally a good climax. And out of context, that sounds pretty bad. I remember I watched Iron Man back in 2008?
8.
I remember watching that, and then 11 years later, just looking back at all the times, just like all, how much Marvel's movies have been like in my life and all that. And it's nostalgic to finally see all that conclude, right then and there in just one final battle.
Yeah, it is a nice thing. I remember whenever I saw the Avengers for the first time, that's really when I was on board, because I'd watched Iron Man, of course, in cinemas, and the Incredible Hulk and Captain America, just because I respectively love those heroes, but I wasn't super on board with the MCU until I saw the Avengers 2012. And at the end of that, when Thanos is, he's revealed, I was like, hell yeah, Thanos is going to come up, he's going to come clean shop on Earth. It's going to be great. But then, 20 movies later, I was just like, oh god, I forgot that Thanos is coming. And then, Chase, we were in our dorm when we watched the trailer to Infinity War, I think.
Oh, yes. I remember that.
And I watched it, and I was just like, holy shit, I'm back on board. So I definitely, I do agree with you there, Donovan.
Right. I think it's going to be pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really like it, too. I really like it, too, when something I've been watching for, 11 whatever years. Mm-hmm. I like it when it concludes into the most shittiest movie in the entire history of every fucking movie ever.
Chase! What? Chase! Come on! A little rough. Yeah. But yeah, it comes out on DVD this week, I believe. So if you liked Endgame, Chase, this doesn't apply to you. If you liked Endgame, go
If you like Endgame and you're one of the few people that actually still buys DVDs, you might be interested in Endgame.
What are you saying, Donovan? You got something against people that still buy DVDs? I bought a DVD of the Fantastic Four a couple months ago. It was the worst DVD I've ever had in my life. Covered in scratches, stops every 5 minutes, and I loved it.
That's the definition of my King Kong movie, my DVD of King Kong.
Oh, the Jack Black one?
Yes.
Look, Donovan, how do you feel about that movie?
What?
King Kong. Peter Jackson's King Kong.
I thought it was pretty nice. Then again, I just enjoy adaptations that make it pretty good. So the whole bug scene in King Kong definitely terrified me as a kid, and as an adult, still scares me. So yeah, there's that, because, I already don't like insects right now, and they're super tiny. if they were colossal deities of fucking destruction like they were presented in the movie, I'd shit my pants.
Yeah, I would too. Chase, what do you think about that movie? You like it?
All right.
You must. You've watched it a
Yes.
million times. It's
yes,
unscratched.
I honestly love that movie. I think okay, that last time I came up and saw you in St. Joe, me and Calvin watched it in his dorm, and both of us cried at the ending.
It's sad. Yeah.
It really is. Because the film, Calvin was actually telling me. No, not Calvin. It was Jacob.
Fucking Jacob.
Sorry,
Jacob, if you're listening to this, go away.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I love you. I'm kidding. Jacob.
God,
Jacob.
no,
Jacob, come back, please.
So he was telling me about how Peter Jackson actually threw a lot of his heart and soul into that movie. And by a lot of it, I mean he was trying to make that movie his one of his defining pictures that he's produced, and or directed, whatever one. I don't really give a shit, but
Yeah. Just my livelihood you're talking about. Thanks.
So it was really awesome because a lot of the film, it took its time, and by took its time I mean it took its sweet, valuable time to build the relationship between King Kong and fucking what's her face, blonde
the lady,
chick,
the girl, woman,
the lady
number
and
one.
the girl.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
remember her
that's
name.
her
I should.
name.
So
That character that really mattered in the film that they established.
I just can't think of her name right now.
Yeah. You've got.
Why
you
don't
got.
why don't
Jack
you go
Black,
put another charcoal mask on?
You got
Okay.
Kung Fu Panda. You got.
Okay.
You got. Okay, but for anybody who wants to know that reference, because I'm not cutting that. Donovan put a charcoal mask on, and when he peeled it off, he screamed bloody murder. And I found out through a Snapchat video that he sent me like an hour or two ago that it was only on his nose. Donovan, I thought the mask was on your whole face. So when you were screaming, I was just like, oh, that must hurt. But it's literally just your nose, man. Come on.
Dude, it hurts, man. It does.
Yeah, you get it on some of those hairs and you're done.
Yeah, man. I don't want to mess with that stuff again. But I'm gonna.
Yeah, I know. I should too. I need to. My face could use some stuff.
My face
anyway,
feels so smooth.
I bet, like a baby's
Stop.
arm, a baby's
Stop.
arm. But
Okay.
Chase, so something I heard that was really interesting is that he was originally contracted to make Creature from the Black Lagoon, which was the one of the last famous black and white monster films coming out in '54, I think, and.
That would be a beautiful movie adaptation. If
Yeah,
there was
I still hope that one day Guillermo del Toro does it, but
Oh, Guillermo del Toro, my favorite director.
Guillermo del Toro.
Guillermo.
I think that Jackson convinced the studio that he really wanted to do King Kong because I think King Kong, I don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that was like the first movie that Jackson ever saw where he was like, I love this. And I heard stories that he used to actually remake King Kong when he was a little kid, like on a Super 8 camera or some stuff. So yeah, it was definitely his passion project. I like the movie. The CGI is pretty bad, and some of the characters are boring, but it's fun.
I mean,
Yo, crazy how Peter Jackson could predict Harambe in 2005, man.
I know.
It's insane.
Oh my God. Is that still relevant?
but honestly though, the only CGI that I don't like in that movie is there's two parts actually. One part where King Kong finally first kidnaps the lady and runs around with her because you can really tell that it's CGI, and then the green screen when they're running away from the dinosaurs. Other than that, I think the CGI is really great.
Yeah, how dare
Chase,
they not use real dinosaurs in that movie, man?
Chase, if you didn't say the
Nathan
dinosaurs, if you didn't say the dinosaurs part, I was gonna get a little mad at you, because that looks like shit. It is really, really bad. But it's 2005. I'm pretty sure is when that came out. It was really good at the time. I think it won best visual at the Oscars. I don't know. But yeah, it's a good movie. Everybody go watch it. Not a comic book property, but it is a science fiction property, so it counts. But that's not what we're here for. What are we here for, boys?
Oh, shit.
What are we here for? We're here for comic books.
Comic
All right.
books.
Comic books.
Comic books.
Yeah.
Comic books. Comic books!
See?
Yep.
See, what do we tell you?
There it is.
All right, so every week how this is going to go is that we are each going to take turns picking a comic book property. Last week, Chase picked Hyperion. The week before, I
Yes.
picked the Spectre. So whose turn is it? Whose turn is it now?
Mine.
It's
Mine.
Donovan's! Yay!
I think it's Donovan.
Yay, Donovan! Yay!
Yay, Donovan,
It's
yay.
Donovan's turn! Woo! Yeah, woo! All right, so Donovan, who you got for us today? I'm gonna make you go first.
Fuck you, Nathan. I can't. Oh, okay. My character that I chose Rorschach, better known as Walter Kovacs, better known as Rorschach, right? God, where to begin with Rorschach? Let's go into how Rorschach is probably one of the most difficult comic book characters to actually get into. And it's not really like he's a long, drawn-out series. He does have a few comics called Before Watchmen. If those of you don't know, Rorschach is a character written by Alan Moore that takes place in a dark, disturbing times during the Cold War when superheroes and vigilantes exist. However, they are governed, they're like outlawed by the government. Some of them are actually, paid for and kind of stuff by the government. I'd recommend reading it. I'd recommend watching the movie. I'd also recommend, checking out the Before Watchmen stuff and just, listening to anything you can whatsoever about it. Very good series. Just interesting altogether. So you have a character named Rorschach. So let's go to his beginning. Rorschach was obviously a child, just like you and I were at one point, right? Whoa.
I
His
don't
mother
remember.
was a
remember.
prostitute. So his mother was a prostitute, and his father is out of the picture. I don't remember anything about his father whatsoever. So let's go into the fact that because of his abusive relationship with his mother, she never wanted him. She even exclaimed at him so many times, I wish I'd gotten that abortion. Kind of messed up stuff. Of course, that obviously makes a pretty demented kid. Walter Kovacs would eventually lash out to some of the bullies in his school, going as far as biting off some of their face, some of their ear, that kind of, crazy stuff. So psychiatrists and doctors are like, oh my God, what's going on here? What's going on with this kid? They find out that his mother is, trash, and they take him away. So he grows up, he does pretty okay in school, except it was just, he was disconnected from the world. He was very, very lost. When he was confronted about the death of his mother, the only thing he had to say was good. That was it. It was pretty messed up. So let's go into his reasoning for stuff. He worked at a tailor, at a dress shop. At the time, Dr. Manhattan, which was just entity that could fucking, rip apart a tank and do all sorts of stuff, basically control the molecular structure of things, turning, sand into gold, that kind of stuff. It was pretty interesting things.
It's pretty powerful.
Because of Dr. Manhattan and his amazing atomic powers, a lot of strange dresses were being brought in. A lot of weird requests, one of which was a dress that, was made between two pieces of latex and had black ink in the middle of it that would constantly shape and change according to, heat. The lady that had ordered this dress never came and got it, right? And because of the fact that she never got it, because it was too ugly or something or one another, the owner of the store, this dress shop, wanted to throw it away. Walter Kovacs loved it. He thought it was an amazing dress. It never, it always changed, and it was black and white, and it was something really interesting to him. And it's really hard to say that he actually loved something. So he kept it, took it home. He found out that, if you use heated scissors,
Like a salad!
So if you use heated scissors, you could cut the mask without the latex burning and without the ink spilling out, right? Or sorry, if you cut the dress. Later down the line, he doesn't know what to do with it. He just has a bunch of fabric that can do this, crazy stuff. Later down the line, he finds out that a woman was brutally murdered and raped at in some apartment complex. And the thing is that the people in this complex, they didn't do anything. Her screams for help, her cries, of terror,
and her, just all around dismay was left unanswered. She was left to die at the hands of this murderer, and to go as far as to some of these people in this apartment complex even watched. They witnessed this and they did nothing about it. And it was one of the reasons why Walter Kovacs started to think, what did he say? He says something of like, that's when I realized God doesn't make the world like this. We do. It was one of those things that started to turn him into this literal black and white figure. There's no space for gray at all. There's no in between. There is good and then there is evil. Then, later down the line, he's on a patrol. He finds this case of a missing girl. Little toddler. I want to say she was maybe 5 or 6. Could have been younger. All evidence and, leads brought him down to this man's house. He goes to the man's house. He sees that the man has 2 German shepherds. And, the German shepherds are fighting over a bone at the moment. He looks around the house. He finds that there's a bunch of blood-dried axes. There's a bunch of, just stuff to cut people up and all that. It was tormentous. He finds a furnace. The furnace, I guess, a furnace.
A furnace?
Shut up.
I heard furnace.
I will turn on the funny mic.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So he opens up the furnace, and what does he find inside? He finds a piece of the little girl's dress. Maybe it wasn't the dress. It was probably something more. But he finds that. He looks outside, and he notices that the 2 German shepherds are not munching on any ordinary bone. They're chowing down on the femur of the little girl. This guy he comes to the conclusion that this guy had basically killed her for fun and fed her to his dogs. So he later on comes down. This man that murdered this child comes into the house. He wants his dogs. So he's curious, why are my dogs so quiet suddenly? As he's looking around, suddenly, something hits him. Something crashes through his window and pins him down to the ground. He looks down and, the head of his dog is split open. The other dog soon comes flying in too with, the same effect. Dog had been murdered by, this figure, this, Rorschach. It gets pretty intense from here. Rorschach, so in the movie, Walter Kovacs brings a cleaver to the man's head. Mm-hmm. And says that, as he felt the warm shocks go down his arm and felt the warm blood splash on his face, that he was no longer Walter Kovacs, that he was now Rorschach. In the comics, what had happened is that it was the moment that he saw the dogs chewing on the bones of the little girl that it snapped. His morality, gone. His humanity just disappeared. That's when he started actually seeing everything as black and white. He handcuffs the man to a pipe, douses him in kerosene, hands him a hacksaw, and basically says, cut your way out, and then lights him on fire. And as he can smell the human fat boiling and hear the screams of the man slowly start dying out, that's when he starts to become Rorschach. He no longer becomes Walter Kovacs. He is Rorschach. He becomes the identity that he has personified. Walter Kovacs is now just his own thing, kind of like, Superman and Clark Kent. Mm. Rorschach is definitely one of the hardest characters, not the hardest, but one of the hardest characters to get into. Yes, everything he does, is, for the good. However, the way he does it is borderline criminalistic. He will break he will
borderline.
Yeah.
He will, he will torture people to get questions. He'll straight up murder criminals without giving them any sort of fair trial. And yeah, that's pretty much all that I have. He works with a guy, what's that guy's name? I can't remember the actual guy's name, but in the Watchmen series, he's Night Owl. Him and Night Owl have a pretty close relationship, and Night Owl is pretty much the closest thing Rorschach has to a friend. So I'm not going to get much into the whole Watchmen series. The way I see it is that without Rorschach, the Watchmen series would not progress. He is that driving force because he does not believe in stopping. He wants to find answers. He's not satisfied with a little bit. He wants the whole story. And that alone makes him very interesting. The fact that he literally drives the story. Nothing happens without him. Everything that happens pretty much will eventually tie into what he's done. He's pushing, he's edging, he's doing all sorts of stuff. He's, pretty interesting and a very good inspiration for those of you guys that want to get into writing more gruesome comics, writing more realistic stuff. So yeah, that's all I got to say about him. I'm not sure if you guys want to know anything or what.
Well, Rorschach. So Donovan, I want to get your stance on the Watchmen comic versus the Watchmen movie, because I've heard from either side that the film is better than the comic or the comic is better than the film. But having read the comic and seen the film, I'm one of those people that thinks it is one of the truest adaptations that there is.
Yes, it definitely is. However, the movie is 3 hours long, nearly.
Yeah.
And it still had so much potential to be more. I felt that the Watchmen movie, because if I'm right, there's how many volumes to the Watchmen? Isn't there? I believe there's 12. Yes, there is 12.
Yeah. All right.
It's a 12-issue comic book, so I think that if they were to split up each one into fours, do volume 1 through 4, then 5 through... Basically, like, if they were split up like that, they could have made 3 movies, and it would have been fantastic. And if not 3, 2, something. Because there was a lot of detail missed. And there's a lot of things not missed. There's a lot of attention. And there's, of course, a lot of rewrites, because adapting a comic into a movie is very difficult, because there's a lot of stuff that you can do in a comic book that isn't necessarily so easy to do in a movie. And I think a lot of people need to realize that is, yes, comic books are comic books. They are... I'm not saying a comic book is easier to make than a movie. It's not. They both require different sets of skills. However, the range of motion and the range of freedom you have with a piece of paper and a pencil is more than what you can do with a camera.
Oh, yeah.
It's
100%.
a harsh reality. However, the emotion and human connection that you can make with a camera is more than what you can make with a comic. And I'm not sure if that's necessarily true, but that's how I see it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I am excited for HBO's series for Watchmen, because I've heard... I don't know much about it. Last thing I heard was that it was an after Watchmen series.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I can go into that if you want me to.
Yeah, go ahead. I want to hear your thoughts on it.
So I haven't seen it because I saw the trailer for it once and I was like, oh, this ought to be interesting. But is what it is. So, spoilers, of course, about Watchmen. The entire time that the events of what's happening in Watchmen goes down, Rorschach has a journal that he's writing in. Like, right before the final conclusion, Rorschach has all the evidence concluded, this is the guy that's responsible for all this. He secretly sends his journal to the news post. And then, later on that day, Rorschach dies. He dies by the hands of Dr. Manhattan, who obliterated him, because if had Rorschach lived, it would have compromised a whole bunch of safety and, securing the life of humanity. All sorts of stuff. I'm not going to get into it. That could be an episode for another day. If not,
just know that Rorschach
whatever.
dies. Everybody.
So, this newsletter, they get Rorschach's journal and they want something to post. They want something else to share in the stories. And, of course, they post that. And there's people that believe it. There are men and women that believe that Rorschach was correct in his, ethics of how he had dealt with criminals and all sorts of stuff. So this series is about the rebellion that is trying to occur with all that going on, with the people that believe that Rorschach is speaking the truth.
I saw something about it a little bit ago. I really enjoyed the trailer. I'm excited for it. I'm glad that Jeremy Irons is a part of it. I think he. Okay, so something funny about Watchmen is that, for those of you who don't know, which a lot of you I'm sure know, was directed by the same man that ruined the DC Extended Universe, Zack Snyder, the director of Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman. But Watchmen is redeemable, and it's funny because there's a connection, an odd connection there, where Jeremy Irons played Alfred in Batman vs. Superman, and now he's in the Watchmen series. So I'm hoping that there's a little bit of justice done to him. A fantastic actor who makes any character good. I think that he was amazing in Batman vs. Superman, and one of the only good things. Because that movie's bad.
I think Jack Errol Haley, I don't know how to say his name. I think he did an amazing job as Rorschach. He really fits that short, disgruntled, raspy voice character that he's honestly meant to be played as. I think and of course I haven't seen a different representation, so that's the only one.
Yeah.
But I will go to say that he did a phenomenal job being that character, being that short, angry ginger man.
I think that he's a really underrated actor just in general. He's in a lot of stuff that people don't normally see because, a lot of it's not mainstream. But I definitely think that he is he played the best and one of the few, I'd say honestly, only representation of Rorschach there is. It'll be hard to top him. I wouldn't want to be the guy who plays Rorschach next. That's for sure.
It's a big role to fill. It's kind of like the whole thing of, people try and outdo Heath Ledger in the Joker. Yeah. It's not exactly trying to outdo Heath Ledger. It's trying to do something Heath Ledger didn't do.
Yeah.
He did an amazing job at playing the whole psychopath part of Joker in a sense of, absolute sporadic everything, just a constant borderline almost insane person. And of course everyone knows about the method acting he did, him locking himself away from humanity, basically making himself to something that could almost not be considered normal human behavior because it wasn't. Then you got these other actors that are trying to just do the whole randomness of Joker. They're just trying to be random, something interesting, and sometimes it's done really well. Other times it's done too much. Don't be too random. Don't have this. Why the fuck do you have head tattoos?
Yeah, that was notoriously bad, and that was the big example of trying to outdo Heath Ledger. But when you got to look at it as like you got Mark Hamill who voiced the Joker, that interpretation of the Joker, and then look at Heath Ledger's interpretation. Both of them argued constantly for the spot of number one. Both of them wildly, completely different, and both of them didn't try to be different. One of them is a very faithful comic book adaptation, and the other one is honestly incredibly unfaithful, but still has everything that the Joker needs to be the Joker. So
I'm really excited to see Joaquin Phoenix play Joker. I can't stress this enough that it's, even if the movie doesn't turn out well, the trailer for that movie is so good. They did such an amazing job with it. Whoever did that. Joaquin Phoenix is already a very strange looking man. He's already odd looking.
I think we can make a decision once we actually watch the movie, but
right, yeah. I just can't wait to see it. I'm so excited for it. And it comes out next month, doesn't it?
Yeah, next month. It looks promising. It is something that I am nervous about just because I hated Venom because there was no Spider-Man. So now I'm, making a Joker movie where Joker's big motive is supposed to be Batman. There was something that pushed him over the edge that wasn't Batman in a lot of comics. I disagree with a Joker origin story. I think that the Joker should honestly just come out of fucking nowhere. Like in The Dark Knight, where you don't know what happened. You just have reflections or distant shadows of what could have happened. I did a video over a trailer breakdown of the Joker, and you can find it on my YouTube channel, Flamingo House Film. Thanks, guys.
Sell out.
Promo. Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. But anyway, the Joker is for another day. Thank you, Donovan, for Rorschach. Everybody give Donovan a round of applause. Round of applause for doing Rorschach.
Yeah, we should probably set a date for that though, because he talked about that in the first episode.
Yeah, we do love our Joker. As much as I shit on
Nah.
Batman, I do love Batman. But anyway, so we got Rorschach. Chase, who you got this week? Who you got, my man, my dude, my brother, my love?
Have the
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, I have Jamie Madrox, aka Multiple Man.
All right. Woo, Multiple Man.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Tell us a little bit about Multiple Man.
So this is someone I've never actually heard of before. So I will try and do him justice as much as I can. But yes, he's Multiple Man, aka Jamie Madrox. His ability is to create autonomous duplicates of himself, and and his first duplicate was created when the doctor smacked him on the behind when he was born. Yeah.
I'm
Immediately
sorry,
after
it's
that-
funny.
Bottom. Immediately after that, his father quit his job at a nuclear research facility, and he moved to an isolated farm in Kansas. And they created a special suit to neutralize his mutant powers. And before his parents were able to tell him anything about his abilities and stuff like that, he's now 15, by the way, at this point. A wicked tornado kills his parents. And it turns out the tornado was not actually a freak accident like it was supposed. But it was actually this guy named Damien Turp, which he is basically he's an evil wizard that really just doesn't really like mutants that much, even though he is one. And yes, I say mutants because we are in the X-Men universe.
Yeah, Marvel continuity.
Yeah, and and so basically, when he was born, when Jamie Madrox was born, Damien Turp, he went to his parents and said, "Hey, I'm the only one that can take care of him because he is a certain type of mutant that his powers manifest at birth rather than puberty. So I'm the only one that can take care of him." And his parents were like, "No, we're gonna go with Charles Xavier." And so they went with Charles Xavier. They moved to the farm. He didn't go to the school or nothing yet, but that's who helped. I think that's who helped create the suit and all that, and just kind of watch over him. And then so, yeah, push comes to shove, Damien Turp throws a bunch of spinning wind at his parents. So now, after his parents' death, he watches over the farm for about 6 years, not knowing about his powers or anything like that. And eventually, his suit malfunctions, and he creates a whole bunch of duplicates. It releases a lot of his powers, and he kind of honestly goes a little bit crazy because of it. He moves to New York and kind of does some evil stuff. I don't necessarily know what, but he did clash with the Fantastic Four for a bit. And then Charles Xavier brought some X-Men people and was like, "Hey, yo, bro, chill." And they're like, "Oh, okay, fine." And so they stopped fighting. It was eventful. And so then Professor X and Reed Richards fix the suit, and this is when he actually goes to the mansion. So he actually goes to the school for gifted youngsters. Eventually he does join the X-Men. He joins them, does some stuff with them for a while. Some crazy stuff happens, as in Magneto becomes the leader of the X-Men for a little while. And Madrox and a bunch of some of his friends quit, and they go off and they create uh, they create a team called X Factor. And X Factor has gone through a lot of different things. Like at one point it was government owned, and at another point it was, it was Jamie Madrox and a couple other people. And there's been like 3 or 4 different X Factor teams, or not X. What did I say? Does it say X Factor?
Chase has to consult the book.
Yeah. X Factor. Okay, so X Factor. Yeah, Team X Factor. Blah blah blah. And he does a lot of stuff with that team, and eventually he just quits that too. Or actually, I think he rejoins the X-Men at some point in time, and then comes back. And for a long time, he didn't know what to do, so he sent out a bunch of his duplicates, and they went on and lived separate lives. And one of his really cool abilities is that when he learned to resorb his one of his duplicates, and when he does that, everything that duplicate experienced, those feelings, those thoughts, the knowledge that he has learned, Jamie Madrox now has that. Eventually he becomes fluent in multiple languages, and he knows so much because each of his duplicates lived a different life. Lived a completely different life, and eventually this is when he creates XXX investigators, which sounds naughty, but it's not.
Yeah, sounds like the porn FBI.
It's the porn FBI. So he creates them with a couple of his buddies from X Factor, from one of the X Factor teams. And then his first case was to investigate the murder of one of his duplicates. And then nothing really, that storyline was really not that great or amazing or nothing like that. Also, and then he later actually renames the porn FBI to the X Factor Investigations.
Oh, neat. Okay.
Yeah, so he actually, he owns his own firm and everything now. And, that's what I was going to say. Earlier, he has, like, a law degree and stuff, too. Like,
oh,
he knows
interesting.
From one of his resorb duplicates, he has, like, a law degree and a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But, anyways. Okay, oh, yes, website time.
Here we go.
X Factor Investigations. Damien Turp also, he had his own, investigative, like, PI thing. His own PI firm. Business. Whatever you want to call it. And there's a whole bunch of stuff with him and Turp, and, like, there's, like, Turp was born in, like, Wales in the 14th century, and he's, like, super old, but also, like, trapped in between time, so there's, like, 3 different versions of him, one when he's young, one when he's middle-aged, and one when he's, like, super ancient. He mostly, a lot of his stuff deals with Turp. He's pretty much his, like main guy, main enemy, his arch nemesis. So one of the big things was, in Turp's reality that he was born into, he is not necessarily born in the same reality as, or I guess timeline, not reality, because that's different, so timeline. Basically, the X Factor team in Turp's timeline was able to reverse the effects of M-Day, and M-Day was, I believe, a day that took away, like, all of mutants' powers. Don't know how, but it took away, in his timeline, it took away the mutants' powers, and then eventually the X Factor team in Turp's timeline was able to reverse that, and actually brought upon the almost complete extinction of the human race by mutants. And so that is one of his big things, is that's one of the big reasons that him and Turp and Multiple Man do a lot of fighting, because he wants to stop X Factor from from doing what happened in his timeline. It was creating that huge conflict, and eventually Multiple Man finds out, and he kind of does stuff to make sure that a mutant war doesn't happen and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And some other cool things that I really liked, I figured out. Him and X Factor Investigations actually opposed the Superhuman Registration Act, which honestly, Superhuman Registration Act and Civil War and stuff like that is probably one of my favorite freaking stories of all time in Marvel. I just love it.
Yeah, it's one of the best regarded conflicts that's gone on in Marvel.
Yeah, it's just awesome. It's just the great conflict between government and mutants.
Mm-hmm.
It's just awesome.
Not all heroes wear capes. Sometimes they wear really long brown coats.
But yeah, and something also really cool is he goes on this cool quest to find all his duplicates. And he even has a duplicate that works for Shield during the Civil War timeline. So like, that's just kind of funny.
Excellent.
But yeah, and one of his duplicates also like started a family because like I said, he went to go resorb all his duplicates because he didn't know how many he had out there and stuff like that.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's basically Multiple Man.
Nice.
He's not very. I don't think he's very famous, but he actually has a lot of stuff on him.
Yeah. He's so Multiple Man is in X-Men 3, X-Men: The Last Stand, the original X-Men movies, and he's in it only briefly, and I think that was one of the most criminally underrated or underused characters that was used in that series. Just because, I don't know, he's so cool, and you could do so many things with him. Obviously, literally, and so, yeah, I just think that he was super underused, and I would love to see Multiple Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe now, maybe apart from the X-Men, even though he is a mutant, so I'm sure that's very unlikely. But yeah, he's a good boy. He's a good bunch of boys, if you will.
See, much good boy.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll be right back because I want to go get another margarita, so I will return in just a second. BRB. Okay, bye. Love you.
All right. So you know exactly what time it is. All right. It's time for a sponsorship. Now, it's just not any sponsorship. Let me tell you exactly what time of sponsorship it is. If I can find it. Give me a second. I'm having a horrible time. Son of a bitch. Where's it at? Not that. Oh, my lordy. Where'd it go? There it is.
Hello.
All right. So, let me tell you. Today's episode is brought to you not by free roaming. Come on. Nathan's coming back. Today's episode is brought to you by Alex Jones Insanity. Holy hell, have you heard what this guy says? It's off the walls. It's off the charts. Let me tell you, this guy is... Oh, now the music starts playing. So... what was I gonna say? Alex Jones, crazy,
I don't know, now we're
gay
getting a
frogs.
copyright strike.
Your
Oh, no,
time's
we're
up,
not.
fuckboy. I'm back.
Hey, Nathan!
Hello, everybody. I am back. We have returned to the podcast from that lovely commercial break. So Donovan did I almost said my character. Donovan did Rorschach. Chase did Multiple Man, and going with the theme of young men, and with Donovan's particular young conspiracy theory. Well, he's not really young, but he's a conspiracy theorist detective nonetheless. I have decided to do mine over the question. Which Donovan is real pissed about because he loves that character. But to that, I go,
Why don't you eat shit?
but the question
I
is
think
a
you're a
comic
piece
book...
of shit.
Sorry, Donovan. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, what can I do to make it up for you?
Fuck you.
What can I do? I'll get you anything you want. I'll buy you anything you want.
I don't know.
Anybody you don't like, name them and they're dead.
Oh, man. God. You know what I could go over for right now?
What's that?
A Sprite cranberry.
So the question is a comic book character whose superpower is conspiracy theories. His alter ego is Charles Victor Saz, but his name is usually Victor Sage, depending on the comic book that you read.
That's odd.
Yeah, it's weird.
Victor
Or Vic
Zaz?
Sage. And his primary location is Hub City. though he has been known to go to Gotham and I think Chicago, which is weird because there's no such thing as real cities in the DC universe. But he was written by legendary writer and artist Steve Ditko. Ditko once said that the Question is a Comics Code acceptable version of his personal character, Mr. A, who is the same as the Question, but is really freaking edgy. His first appearance was in the Blue Beetle #1 in 1967, I believe, and his popularity has only grown since then. The character was originally a part of Charlton Comics, but DC snatched him up in the late 80s to incorporate him into the DC universe. Just a little bit about the character in his publication biography. Victor was a troubled child. He had problems focusing in school, and he had problems with violence. He did go to college. He tried to achieve some sort of upper education. However, his violence kept him out of it. His violence got him kicked out of classes in college, and he couldn't deal with crowds or tons of people who acted like sheep. So Victor knew a scientist that was working on, and I have the word, and I'm going to say it wrong. Where's the word? So Victor was working with a scientist that was studying the pseudoderm, which I believe that's how it's pronounced, which is the chemical...
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, which is a chemical, I believe, that is responsible for the super elongated man's powers, who's a character that's a lot like Plastic Man, but he's a lot more serious. Pseudoderm was intended to work as a bandage that was supposed to be in place of a skin graft for burn victims or, people who needed a lot of skin. And its use was targeted towards third world countries because it had a horrible toxic poison property that could lead to death or fatal injury or lifelong injury if applied to a really bad open wound. The two scientists decided to abandon the project. However, they went behind each other's back and still sold it for top dollar in third world countries for people who needed it, even though it had that horrible side effect that they refused to talk about. Victor, who had very, very, very prominent facial features, decided that he wanted to investigate this conspiracy, but he couldn't do it just by himself, or he couldn't do it with his current personal ego. So he snatched up some of that pseudoderm, made a skin-like mask that had no facial features, and thus began the life of the Question. My favorite version of the Question is the Justice League Unlimited version, where he was hell yeah, where he was a background protagonist that was working for and against the Justice League multiple times. He was played by the great Jeffrey Combs, who cult horror fans will know as the Reanimator, but DC animated fans will know him as the third Scarecrow from the latter half of the Batman the Animated series. The Question is a great addition into the Justice League because he is the opposite of most members, only relating to Batman just a little bit. But the Question has more of an edge than Batman and truly distrusts everybody around him. Except for the Huntress, because in Justice League Unlimited, they finna. Am I right? Am I right, Donovan? They finna? Yeah, they finna. Since the Question trusts nobody, he has no sidekick, but he did have a protege for a bit, Renee Montoya, and she actually took on the mantle of the Question during the New 52. She had a short run before the next reboot where Victor Sage was reintroduced. The Question, like Rorschach or Batman, obviously poses no superhuman powers, but his physical abilities are insane. He is a master martial artist like Batman. He's a fucking genius, which makes him an incredible detective, and in the New 52, he was actually the closest he's ever been to having a superpower, because there was a possibility that he could have knowledge of events from the future because of how much he knows about the past and the present. The character was also on Batman the Brave and the Bold, but I didn't watch that show.
I did, but I don't remember him.
I don't remember the question.
It was charming. It was a charming series. I'm pretty sure he was on Brave and the Bold. It was a charming series, but I'm a hoe for the animated series. And not only that, but I am a faithful hoe to the animated series, and I will always watch it. Anyways, watch Justice League Unlimited. Read Blackest Night, because he's in that, and he's also in Lego Batman 3, which is the best Lego video game in the world. I'm not ashamed to say it. It's amazing. You can play as the Heath Ledger Joker in the nurse costume. It's great. But yeah, that's really all I got on the Question. He's one of those characters that, again, is... Well, he's not really underrated at this point. A lot of comic book readers know about him, and they appreciate him. I think that if the DC streaming service doesn't crash and burn like it is and officially die, they should really look into potential with the Question, because I feel like you could get a lot of insane conspiracy theory stories out of that character.
They're called aglets, and their intentions are vile.
Yeah, no, that's a quote from Justice League Unlimited. Like he's a crazy person. Like he's a maniac, but he has an incredible moral compass, and I think it works for him. But yeah, I think that the question would be a correct step in the right direction if the DC streaming service wants to stay alive. Even though that Doom Patrol is really good, if you guys haven't seen it, it's actually pretty okay. But with Titans and Swamp Thing, it doesn't look like it's gonna stay alive.
yeah.
Yep. Rest in peace. Sorry, DC.
Rip
Look,
in
I love
peace
DC
side.
and everything. I really do. It was the first comic books I ever read were DC comic books. First movies I ever watched were Batman and Superman movies. But they need to they suck. They really suck right now. Like, even the comic books are kind of bad right now. I'm not going to lie. So it just, like, it needs to...
And that's usually the thing they have going for them.
Yeah, that's always the thing. And, you know, they're making less animated films. The animated films they're making aren't as great.
Are you Yeah, Harley Quinn and Batman or whatever was a fucking shitty ass animated movie.
From what I saw, I still haven't watched all the way through, but from what I saw, I didn't care for it. And, you know, we all have our opinions on the CW shows.
Why is it that everything you guys hate, I enjoy? Fuck.
I'm sorry, Donovan, okay?
It ends on the most stupid fucking thing, though. I hated how that one ended.
But yeah, read the question. Even though I just trashed all of DC, I love DC. I really do. Read the question. You won't be bored. That's for sure, because I really do think that the question needs a little more justice. I think if he was pushed in the limelight, the character could be just as popular as Swamp Thing is now. You know, just one of those characters that, you know, is not quite enough to be like Batman or Superman, but you know he deserves more than he's got going for him. Yeah. That's what I got on the question. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to my
You gonna say TED Talk?
Can we say TED Talk legally?
Can we say that?
We got our boys. We got our three boys. So what does that mean?
Time for him to fight.
It's the time to ring the bell. Yeah, it's the time to ring the bell. Ding, 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 ding. Rorschach. Multiple man. All right, guys, we've got Rorschach, we've got Multiple Man, we've got the question. They're in a room, a big room, no windows. Chase and I figured that out last time. We also figured out that so each of these characters, I'm assuming they can't go through walls or they're not strong enough to destroy a wall. But for future reference, the room is encased in whatever will make that character not get out of that room. So if it's Superman, it's encased in magic. If it's Spider-Man, it's a wall. So we've got...
It's a wall.
we've got Rorschach. We've got Multiple Man. We've got the question. They're standing in the corners. They have only the weapons that they would normally carry. So Rorschach's got a little knife. The question has got...
A grappling hook too,
just...
fucker?
Huh?
Rorschach has a grappling hook.
Okay, Rorschach's got a grappling hook. The question, I'm pretty sure, uses a grappling hook, but he's a fist man. He likes to run and jump. And Multiple Man uses his Multiple Man abilities. All right, they're in they're in a fight. The goal is to win. The goal might not necessarily be to kill, but the goal is to get the other person down and to stay down. All right, let me hear your arguments. Here we go.
All right. Me first. All right.
Yeah, go ahead, Chase.
So, also one of Multiple Man's duplicates did go train with like some like real Shaolin monks and everything. So, yeah, and I can make literally any clone, however many clones that I want. There's no like limit.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that you can make so many clones that the room is filled with clones to the point where Rorschach and the question suffocate. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just standing
Honestly,
there, not doing anything.
The predicament that you're putting me in right now, Rorschach has a pretty big disadvantage. He is a savage individual who's able to use improvised weaponry pretty fucking well.
Yeah, but there's nothing in the room.
I know, that's why I'm saying you're putting me at a disadvantage here.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm gonna have to say Rorschach.
I'll listen
Rorschach might not win this, unless he were to like use the grappling hook to like shoot someone with it, which he's done before. So yeah, I'm not
if
really...
he shot one of my clones, the next like 3,000 could just go, just move around.
How big's this fucking room?
Shot.
What the fuck?
It's just a
okay.
room. I mean, and it's also just a figure of speech.
It's like a school gymnasium.
Okay.
That's what I
oh
got
my
going.
God.
I was actually thinking smaller than that.
Oh no,
okay,
no!
that's fine with
I've
me.
been thinking like a basketball gymnasium this entire time.
So, yeah,
so like
I'm
you've
gonna-
got
Honestly,
characters-
like I just thought it was like a circular room with no corners that was like.
I'm gonna say that the guy that can make clones of himself probably wins because there ain't no stopping that. You know,
Yeah.
if you can,
All right,
yeah,
so,
like
yeah.
the similarity
Yeah.
between all three of these. Well, I mean, the similarity between Rorschach and Question is that they're both human still,
Mhm.
and that they both
Yeah.
have a limit. To whereas Multiple Man can just keep coming up with guys.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I
I'm
mean,
gonna s-
it's kind of both of it. You know, his
So
questions,
I'm
conspiracy
gonna
theories
say
aren't gonna
you
stop a
cheated,
clone.
and you went though.
So all right, so
I did not cheat.
You
here's
cheated.
here's
You have
what I
the
got.
one superpower. The rest of us don't.
That was not a part of the specifications. It just said detectives.
That was not.
All right. So here's what I got. Here's what I got for you guys. Here's the scenario. All right, 3 of these characters. You got Rorschach, Multiple Man, and the Question. They each wake up in this gymnasium or in this room. Okay, they're at equal thirds. If you can cut a gymnasium into thirds, which I think you can, they're at equal thirds. They look at each other. They know that each one is an immediate threat, and they have to take him down. So here's what happens. Rorschach grapples away, but he grapples onto a basketball hoop and he falls. So he grapples away and he starts running. The Question starts running after him, and they're both about the same build, so they're running at the same speed. They're running circles in the gymnasium, and Multiple Man spends 5 hours making enough clones of himself to fill the gymnasium. So I'm also gonna give this one to Multiple Man, just because it's like you're turning a one-on-one fight into a potential 500 or 10,000 on one fight if you wanted to.
I.e. cheating, fucker.
No, it's not.
It's not cheating. It was not a part of the specifications.
Yeah, it really sucks for these human characters that are just like, oh, piss off, you're human, you're a flabby bag of meat. I'm sorry,
Flabby
I'm
bag of
sorry that
ass.
you can't hold your own. Even Batman has his problems. But yeah, so in this scenario, I would say that Multiple Man wins. So let's narrow it down just to have a little bit of fun. So Multiple Man's won. So you take Multiple Man out of the equation. You bring Rorschach and the Question have died from exhaustion, so you bring them back to life. And now we've got the Question and Rorschach, Donovan. Okay, let's go.
Okay,
what's your argument?
All right. So you said that fucking Question has actually trained with martial artists.
Yeah, he's a martial artist.
That puts him at a slight advantage. Rorschach is just, vicious. He's savage. He's
a man of fists. It's
He
prison
just
rules.
does like, he feels pain and just doesn't care.
Yeah.
Because honestly, he just doesn't feel anything anymore. He's not necessarily a strategist. He just is able to do things real quick, real fast.
Okay.
Like taking a man's thumbs, breaking him, and then tying his arms to a thing. That whole thing, which was whack.
All right, so Donovan, let me.
He was
tell you
able to
this.
take
Let me-
down a whole SWAT team on a staircase with nothing but air freshener, a grappling hook, and some matches.
So I've got two things to tell you, Donovan. I need you to picture these scenarios. So the first one, which I think might be the most popular one or the most true one, is that the Question is all talk, and in situations where his body does the fight or flight, he does fine. But in a situation like this, he might not do so great. Or, hear me out. The Question walks up to, I almost called him Watchmen. The Question walks up to the Watchman. The Question walks up to Rorschach, and it's black and white sepia, 40s, 50s noir. They walk up to each other. They've got their masks on, in their trench coats and their fedoras. You can't see their face. You can't see anything about them. Question walks up to Rorschach at a lamppost in this gymnasium and says, "There's nothing I'm gonna do, or there's nothing I won't do to stop you." And Rorschach screams, "But you've forgotten. I'm not stuck in here with you. You're stuck in here with me." And before he can finish that, the Question fucking just snaps his neck like a little branch, and then Rorschach falls to the ground. What do you think, Donovan?
I think that's bullshit.
You think that's bullshit?
I don't think, because Rorschach will only do something to make a statement to everyone else around him. If it's just him and the Question, he won't even bother with
bother talking.
trying to intimidate him. He's just gonna do it. Because what's
Alright,
the
yeah.
point in intimidating a man that you're about to murder? Nothing.
What's the point of intimidating a man whose face you can't see?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Well, the body
Okay,
speaks
well,
language.
I'd honestly say that with multiple man, yeah, it's an easy fight, Chase. Okay, you've redeemed yourself since the Green Goblin.
Can I like say one thing also?
Yeah, what's up?
No.
With the all right, you little bitch. All right.
Oh no.
So
takes one to fucking no one.
if you're saying the whole like he's at a disadvantage because he doesn't know martial arts, fucking multiple man without his powers in that room, he still knows and trained with the Shaolin monks.
I'm not saying that because without, like, even with his powers. I'm just fucking, like, what's more terrifying? A guy that just can't feel pain and moves on regardless, or a guy that knows exactly where to punch to hurt someone?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm just saying that I'd still whoop your ass if I didn't have if he didn't have powers. Like he would still whoop his ass.
We gonna
Yeah.
I'll fly
I'm
up there,
saying-
motherfucker. I'm not afraid.
I'm saying multiple man would still whoop Rorschach's butt without his powers. Without being able to make any clones whatsoever.
Yeah, because Donovan, you got a man who's completely ruthless, but that man is also like 5'3".
I will say this. Okay. I will say this, that yes, Rorschach is the most human character out of all these guys. However, physically, Rorschach is the most human. Mentally, Rorschach is the least human.
I'd say so, yeah, because I'd say that the question might be the
So
most human,
yes,
just because he feels love.
I think Rorschach would lose to the question. I think he would definitely lose to multiple man.
Both with and without powers.
Yes, with and without powers. Eat
All right,
shit.
Chase, we get it. We understand. We understand that you made a mistake with the Green Goblin, but you've redeemed yourself now and winning the last two of this podcast.
yes.
But
Yeah,
It
I'm now
might
the
not,
two-time
yeah.
fucking winner.
why don't y'all listeners, y'all friends and listeners, leave us a comment? I had a burp. I'm sorry. In the comments section of wherever you're listening to this.
Yeah, and no fucking using separate accounts, Nathan.
Look,
God damn it! I saw
all
that
right.
shit. Don't think I
All
didn't
right.
see that, motherfucker.
I know you saw
You
it.
went
I know
on.
you
went
saw
into
it.
your
I
flannel
voted-
shirt kid thing. I swear to Christ, I'm
I
getting
voted for the
progressively louder
Hobgoblin. I
and
didn't
pulling
even
up.
vote for my character.
You voted for your. I swear to God, you did it on purpose just to fucking piss me,
No,
just
no,
to spite me.
Donovan, I voted for the Hobgoblin, okay? I didn't even vote for my own character.
Goblin.
All right, but anyway, yes, please leave a comment. I won't comment, okay? I won't. But leave a comment telling us who you think would win. And if you wanna leave a suggestion, I'll look at it. All right. If who you want next, I'll do you the grace of looking at your suggestion. I'll do you that. I'll do you that much.
It is your turn to pick next episode, though.
It is my
Nathan,
turn to
so-
pick next episode, and who will I pick? Find out next episode. That's how this works. Do you not understand how this works? It's a weekly basis thing. It's like a television show. You come back for the next episode. You look at the title or you listen to it. That's how this works. Okay. All right. I'm not gonna say who it is. Anyway, thank you for listening. As always, this has been Nathan D. Gonder with my buddy Donovan.
Goodbye. Have a good night.
He's in the funny mic, and of course Chase.
Hey, I'm leaving.
We're saying goodbye. Yeah. All right, we're saying goodbye.
Yeah,
So long.
yeah.
Farewell.
Thanks for all the fish.
I'd like to say goodbye. Vita say goodbye. And you know, have a good life. Have a good time. If we don't see you again, we'd hope to see you again. We'd hope to get your listen, your view, maybe a like and a subscribe. If you want to comment, go ahead. But a like and a subscribe would really help out a lot. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, as always, we'll see you next week. And what's a superhero thing that I can end this with? What's a superhero thing? What do superheroes say?
We did. Wait, which one did we do last
We did
week? I
Spider.
can't
We did
remember.
great power comes
We
great
did Spider-Man.
response. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We'll do the one from the question or whatever you just said in the podcast.
Yeah. Shoelaces are bad. Said the question. Direct quote. No joke.
No, come on.
Don't trust the tips on those shoelace. All right. Yeah. But anyway, yes, of course. Have a good time, and we'll see
that
you later.
was lame, Nathan.
But yeah, I know it was fucking lame. Okay. All right. I didn't have anything prepared. I don't have anything prepared
Well,
for the
let's
ending.
think of something else then. We have time.
I forget about the ending until we actually record it. All right, let me find it. Superhero catchphrases. Okay, I'm googling it now. All right, I got one.
Fuck.
Thank you, guys. Come back next time. It's clobbering time. Okay, bye-bye. Hey, did you like this podcast? Me neither, but in case you did, Flying Feathers officially has an Instagram and a Twitter account, which are linked below. Facebook is soon to come, I'm sure. Probably next time. I don't know. Okay, bye. For real this time. Wait! Haha, gotcha. Okay, see you, bye.